Hi guys, this is Mauro. There are times when we don't know when we're gonna volley and we don't know if we should get that volley more aggressive or a little more not defensive but a little more slicey, let's say, instead of being of hitting that ball too aggressive and we don't know if according to the height, okay, should I be a little more aggressive on this one or should I go easy? I want to talk about two different kinds of volleys: the elevator button volley and the crossing chop. The elevator button volley is the one that you pretty much just put away. See, it's like pushing an elevator button. You get that ball, I usually go for that. That's usually above the shoulder, and you get to that ball and you just kind of just finish it. See, you don't do much of the chopping, you don't do much of the crossing, all right? You still do a little bit, but depending on the position on the court, if you're right on top of the net, you don't need to chop at all. You can just go there and go completely flat to put the ball away. If you're a little further back, then you're probably gonna have to do a little bit of a combination of chop and cross and elevator button. That means you're still gonna go aggressive, but not as aggressive as you will do in a high ball on top of the net. So the elevator push is that ball that you hit it more, a little flatter, a little more aggressive. The chopping cross, that's a volley that I would say we're gonna do probably 80% of the time. That's the one that you go more across your body and chopping that ball. Same on the forehand. When I see when the ball is coming, let's say more or less around my head or lower, I usually, if it's, let's say, from the shoulders down, I use chop and cross most of the times. Unless I'm on top of the net, then you can do elevator button. You just finish it. Really short swing. You don't even, really, it's just probably like 10, 12 inches length, long swing there. When it's a chopping ball, it's a little, not much longer than that, but it's definitely longer. You want to carry that ball, and you gotta feel like you're actually carrying that ball, and in order to place it. So whenever it comes from the shoulder down, I'm thinking more chop and cross, or cross and chop. When the ball comes above my shoulder, depending on my position on the court, I can go for a combination of cross and chop and elevator button. If I'm let's say if I'm between the service line and the net, then I'm gonna do more of a combination of cross and chop and elevator button. If I'm further closer, if I'm like really close, I would say if I'm within 3 or 4 steps from touching the net, I'm pretty much just gonna go for an elevator button if it's a high ball, if it's above my shoulders. All right. Usually we're gonna volley around the service line, at least the first volley. When I'm there, even if the ball is high, if the ball is high, I have to do a combination of cross and chop with elevator button. I don't want to go completely flat, and I don't want to, of course, you don't want to go all the way cross and chop. It's more of a combination. But I usually let that ball drop more or less on my shoulder height, and I go more, I'm thinking more cross and chop, but moving towards the ball with my legs, guys, not swinging. Don't ever swing. You gotta work more with the legs. You wanna be aggressive with the legs, not with the arms, not with the hands, So if it's high, let's say I let it drop to shoulder height and I move towards the ball aggressive. If it's below my shoulders and I'm around the service line, definitely it's a cross and chop. And it can be an aggressive cross and chop, But what you really want to pay attention is where your position is on the court and the height of the ball, where you're gonna make contact. That pretty much is gonna tell. It pretty much common sense, and depending how you feel with your volley as well. If you're the kind of player that says, you know what, I'm not really that confident with my volley. Well, then you know what? Focus more on just cross and chop. And if you're the kind of player that move, you know, you're a pretty good net volleyer, then things are gonna change for you. You can be a little more aggressive, okay? But remember that in order to have a good idea. Okay, well, how am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What height and what depth? How am I gonna work with this volley? Okay, on the low ones, you know, when the people play low, that those balls that you get sometimes below the knees, which is most of the time what people are gonna try to do, hit you banana shot, so you have to pick it up. Definitely, you have to go for the cross and chop, and that one you really want to feel that racket is under the ball and across, you know, in order to pick it up. Don't shovel it, which is what I see a lot of people doing. No, get that racket across the ball and caress it to pick it up. You want to finish with a trade position. You want to feel more like you're giving direction to that ball instead of going too hard and too aggressive, because you're not going to be able to do much, especially on the low ones, if you try to be too aggressive. All right, okay guys, well, I hope it helps. Let me know if you have any questions, any suggestions, and I'll see you next time.